What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, I'm going to give my predictions for the next episode of American Gods. That's Season 1, Episode 7, titled A Prayer for Mad Sweeney. Only 2 more episodes left. Alright, so my sorta kinda predictions for American Gods Season 1, Episode 7, Prayer for Mad Sweeney. Now, I say my sorta kinda predictions because with this show for the most of this season, I've really been trying to figure out what's going on, so it's been hard to predict what's happening next because I'm spending each week trying to figure out what happened last week, right? But I feel like after the last, 2 episodes, it's becoming a little bit more apparent, to at least me, but I think probably all of you too, that we're starting to understand this world a little bit better. I haven't read the book, so that also makes it difficult. All right, so I'm going to do my best to figure out what's going on in the next episode. There's only 2 left, so I would imagine that these last 2 are going to be eventful episodes, maybe even a lot of action. But I think that the synopsis, at least for this week's, is going to be misleading slightly. Let's get to that now. So the synopsis for this week's episode reads, after an over-too-quickly reunion with Shadow, Laura joins an unlikely travel companion on the road back to life and back to Shadow. I kind of feel like that already happened last episode, don't you? Mad Sweeney's long and often tragic past is explored. So that's new. So that's how I know that there is that I think they're misleading us with this synopsis by kind of just already telling us what we know is going to be happening between Laura, Mad Sweeney, and Samir, right? So, all right. If you look at the trailer for the next episode, we only see those 3 in the trailer. We do not see Wednesday. We do not see Shadow or any of the other old gods or new gods for that matter. But I find it hard to believe that with only 2 episodes left, we're going to get another episode that's like not dealing with Shadow or Wednesday. So I think that Shadow and Wednesday stuff is so under lock and key or going to be so important that they're leaving it out of the synopsis. So let me just talk about where I think they're going with that first. I don't have much on that because obviously they're getting closer to their big meeting of gods. Now, I'm starting to think that we're not going to get to the meeting of gods this season. I'm starting to think that they're going to end the season right before we get to that, and then that's going to be dealt with in season 2. Or maybe we don't even get that close to it this season. I would imagine that there's only 1 book really that deals with this story. So I would imagine that part of the book is towards the end. So, this show is a hit. It's awesome. It's doing great. It's great production value. So I really think they're going to try and stretch this out, add story, whatever. So I can definitely see them not getting up to that meeting of the old gods this season, which will be disappointing for a lot. But as long as we get a good showdown in at least a finale with, maybe some of the new gods, some of the old gods type of deal, or just old gods versus old gods or something like that, I think that'll make up for us not getting to that big climax. But I really don't think that's happening this season. So I think next episode we'll have a little bit of, or at least a little bit of Wednesday and Shadow. And it'll be road trip stuff. Maybe we'll come across another old god, because I'm sure there's still more recruiting to do. So that'll probably be with the next 2 episodes, or at least the next episode is more recruiting of another 1 or 2 or more of the old gods. All right. So now to this. So out of what we see in the trailer, it's really only dealing with the road trip crew, right? Well, they're all road trip crews, but the trio there. So, as I said in my review of the last episode, I found it fascinating the 3 of them on the road together, just on like an ideology, I guess you would call it, or a philosophy, or just their outlook of things. They're all so different. If you just want to talk about religion and gods, here you have Samir, someone who still worships gods and still believes in the way religion is taught to us and all the things that are told to us. Even though we know in the confounds of this show, a lot of that is false, and we're kind of just feeding the power and the ego of the gods that we create, right? So then we have Samir, and then we have Laura, who's not only is she not living technically anymore, she's someone who seems to always have had an outlook on like afterlife and the God supernatural type of thing as being total bullshit, right? So you have a non-believer and a total believer right there. And then you have Mad Sweeney, who is a leprechaun, not necessarily a god, but still a magical creature, who knows of gods and knows that it's real and knows what the truth is. So then you have him in between, knowing that they're both kind of right in Laura and Samir, right? Samir totally believes in the religion, and he's right in that the gods are real and all that. But Laura believes that it's bullshit, which is also true, that the stories that we're fed about the gods aren't necessarily the true stories. So I think that's an amazing dynamic for a show like this. Now, would I be happy if the whole episode was focused on them? Probably, because they're all very interesting characters to me, and that's what makes an episode interesting. Maybe not exciting, but interesting. But because there's only 2 left, I really don't think that's all we're gonna get. But maybe the bulk of it will be that. Now, where are they gonna go and what's gonna happen? How is Mad Sweeney really getting Laura back to shadow and life? Well, I think getting back to life means getting back to shadow. So they're both one and the same. And Mad Sweeney is going to meet going to the group meeting of all of the old gods. So he's, I guess, going to take Laura and Samir with him, because Samir's looking for the djinn. So they're all going to go to the same place, which is bringing Laura back to life by bringing her back to shadow. I still really don't have any idea about the glowing and all of that, but he's the light of her life. She says it, and I think that's really what it's about. Because Laura is trapped between worlds, whatever was most important to her, whatever was the thing that she really loved, even if she didn't know it, is where she would see that light. So if Laura had kids, and she would probably see the light of those kids. Maybe shadow too. You understand what I'm saying? So whatever the light of your life is, when you're caught in between these 2 worlds, whatever the most important thing to you was, that's where you're going to see the beacon of light, and that's what's going to make you feel alive again, even if only for a moment. And that's what I think the whole thing is with Laura and Shadow's connection. And then finally, I don't know what's going to happen with Samir. Nothing probably. It's probably just going to be a lot of theology, talking about gods and religion and what's true, what's not true, what to believe, what not to believe, what faith is, when you should have faith, all of that. We'll probably get a lot of that. I guess you can call this an existential episode, in regards to the trio. And then with Mad Sweeney, all right, so I looked up a little bit on the character just because I was a little curious, but I stopped reading when I felt like it might get a little spoilery for the show. But apparently, Mad Sweeney is like a king who is cursed. So he's not really a leprechaun, but I could be wrong, and they could maybe mix that mythology together. But he did perform duties of leprechauns, like he guarded some ancient stone for like thousands of years, or whatever. And I kind of stopped reading after that. But we all know that coin is very important to him, and I think that's the source of his magic. That's the source of his extra long life and everything. I feel like without that coin, Mad Sweeney is maybe immortal. Not immortal, mortal. I think that coin was definitely the source of his power, and that's why he wants to stay close to it, because maybe he still obtains power by not possessing it and being close to it. Or just the fact that he knows that if he stays close to it long enough, he has a chance of getting it back. And I think that's really what it boils down to. So we'll probably I don't think we're going to get the traditional Somewhere in America story. I think it's going to be more like the Samir story, where it'll be a longer stretch either sprinkled out throughout the episode or just one long scene kind of in the middle or at the beginning of the episode explaining to us who Mad Sweeney is, what his journey was. So I don't think we're going to get another Somewhere in America about gods. We're going to get the Mad Sweeney story in this one. And that'll still be interesting and still be fine for me. Even though I didn't like the whole Jin one a little bit, but I think that's because it was just a little too confusing for me, and I really didn't get what was going on. So hopefully Mad Sweeney's isn't, at the time anyway, I get it now. But maybe, well, not totally, but a little bit. But maybe we'll get just more insight into Mad Sweeney as a character, and hopefully it won't be too convoluted and strange. I do hope we get that and a Somewhere in America story. That would be great. But I feel like they're trying to spread this show out over multiple seasons, so that you don't want to give us all the Somewhere in America stories at once. You know, you want to sprinkle them around. And we have gotten quite a bit of them in this first season, so I'm really excited to see where they go with this show. Not very good on the predictions again. I thought I was going to be better, but not really. But you guys let me know. Chime in down below. Let me know what you think about my predictions, or my sort of, kind of predictions. Or let me know what your predictions are. What you think is going on. What you think is going to happen. Please, if you... kick the mic. Please, if you do read the book, try not to be too spoilery in any comments you leave, because, you know, I like to do my best without being spoiled on at least major plot stuff, you know, going forward in series that I really, really enjoy. Or just let me know what any of your ideas about American Gods are, period. Anything you want to talk about American Gods related, hit me up down there. I'm good with comments. I get back, and I like to have these discussions, so I'm looking forward to you guys hitting me up down below. Thank you so much for watching. Always appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.